Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Hong Kong is bracing for Typhoon Saula, with the storm expected to make landfall shortly. The African Union has suspended Gabon's membership one day after military officers ousted President Ali Bongo. More than 70 people are dead after a fire tore through a run-down apartment block in Johannesburg. And find out where javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra finished at the Diamond League in Zurich. Hong Kong is under a severe storm warning as Typhoon Saula approaches. Well, heavy rain and violent winds are expected to lash the city, with authorities saying the storm could be the strongest to hit Hong Kong in 5 years. DD India correspondent Andrew Wood reports from Hong Kong.
Well, the authorities have said in the last half an hour that they've opened 33 shelters across Hong Kong, typhoon shelters for people to take refuge in. There's only one report of an injury so far, but at the moment the winds are only gusting up to about 60 kilometers per hour. They're probably going to will go over 100 kilometers per hour in the next couple of hours. We're really only feeling the outer bands of the typhoon at the moment. And over the next 12 hours or so, the center of the typhoon is likely to come within 50 kilometers of the city of Hong Kong, according to the meteorologists. So it's going to get a lot worse. At the moment, we're on Typhoon Warning 8. There's a Typhoon Signal 9 and a Typhoon 10 above it. There's hints from the meteorologists that this might turn into a Typhoon 10. And that's only been, the Typhoon 10 signal has only been raised a couple of times over the past 25 years. And the worst was 5 years ago with Typhoon Mangkhut, which is now what people are beginning to compare this storm to.
China's coastal southeast prepares for Typhoon Saula. Over 100,000 people, helped by emergency personnel, were evacuated from danger zones. Fishing boats in China's southeastern Fujian and Guangdong provinces were moored to their harbors, and lifeboats were prepared. Saula could make landfall Friday night or Saturday morning, China's National Meteorological Center said. Stories are emerging from Washington state in the US, with emergency services detailing the lengths they went to when wildfires devastated the region last month. Firefighter Dwayne Hughes lost his own home as he fought to protect the property of others.
This was like a war zone. I mean, everything was ash. There was nothing left. There were some chimneys we came upon. Some burnout cars, but and there were, don't get me wrong, there were a couple of houses that just by the grace of God were saved, you know. But when I got to my house, you know, I saw that my outbuildings were on the ground, and my truck was just a hull, and then the house, all it was left was pretty much the metal on the roof. But everything was on the ground.
The African Union on Thursday suspended Gabon's membership one day after President Ali Bongo was ousted by military officers. This is the first regional response to the coup. The takeover in Gabon ended over 6 decades of rule by Ali Bongo's family. Meanwhile, markets and trade in the border town near Gabon remain suspended. The military junta, however, said it has resumed domestic flights and restored some state institutions, but land and air borders remain shut. The coup leaders who overthrew Gabon's Bongo dynasty will be sworn in as president on Monday. In Niger, ruling junta has ordered the police to expel France's ambassador, a move marking a further downturn in relations and the one that Paris says the military had no authority to make. The coup's leaders are following the strategy of juntas in neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso in distancing themselves from the region's former colonial power amid a wave of anti-French sentiment. The visas of French ambassador to Niamey, Sylvain Ite, and his family have been cancelled, and police are instructed to expel the envoy. The move was condemned by regional African authorities and by Western nations. The European Union's foreign ministers have agreed to start drafting legal groundwork for sanctions against coup leaders in Niger.
The ministers reiterated our will to support African solutions for African problems. And it means that we will support ECOWAS. We have expressed this will from the first moment of the coup. It's up to them to take initiatives and decisions in order to counter this military coup, and we will follow, trying to implement the same kind of sanctions that they have decided. We are moving forward for an autonomous sanctions regime to take measures against the putschists. Work has already started, and tomorrow the Foreign Affairs Ministers will advance on that.
Referring to the succession of military coups seen in recent months, particularly on the African continent, the UN Secretary General said that many countries face deep-seated governance challenges, but military governments are not the solution.
Many countries face deep-seated governance challenges, but military governments are not the solution. They aggravate problems, they cannot resolve a crisis, they can only make it worse. I urge all countries to move quickly to establish credible democratic institutions and the rule of law. We need to strengthen our capacity to support the different African institutions, the African Union, the different regional organizations in their diplomatic efforts to bring peace, stability and democracy to the African continent. But at the same time, we need to create the conditions to allow the Africans to address the root causes of the problems they face.
At least 74 people are dead and dozens more are injured after a massive fire in Johannesburg. The blaze in South Africa's biggest city broke out in a 5-story building with reports it was home to almost 400 people. The country's president says an investigation is underway as rescue teams carry out a sweep of the charred building.
Go out to every person who is affected by this disaster. This incident calls on all of us, from the emergency services and other entities of government, to reach out to survivors, to help restore people's physical, psychological well-being, and to offer all material help and assistance to the residents affected by this. And I do hope that the investigations into the fire will enable communities and authorities to prevent a repeat of such a tragedy.
Some stories related to G20 now. Preparations for the G20 Summit are underway in India's capital, Delhi. Excitement is building as the host city is all set to welcome the G20 delegates. DD India correspondent Devendu Mondal visited the iconic Chandni Chowk to get a sense of this excitement.
As India gears to celebrate G20 and welcome the world leaders, the markets here in Delhi are buzzing with excitement. We are at Chandni Chowk, famous for various eateries, clothes. We are at a famous jalebi shop here in Delhi, Chandni Chowk, and we will straight away go across to this man and ask him, आपका G20 के लिए क्या preparation है?
हमारा ये प्रिपरेशन है जी कि ये बाहर के जो मेहमान आ रहे हैं, जॉन बाइडन आ रहे हैं, चाइना के राष्ट्रपति आ रहे हैं, वो सब आएँ और ये चांदनी चौक का प्रसिद्ध जलेबा और रबड़ी खाएं।
We are on the narrow bylanes of Old Delhi, and these bylanes are filled with hundreds of eateries which dates back to 100 years old during the Mughal era. We are at the Paratha Wala Gali, where they serve one of the oldest type of flatbread, stuffed flatbread, which is deep fried. They have variety of these deep fried parathas, which includes aloo paratha, which is smashed potato parathas, which is a delicacy here in India that is enjoyed by both young and old. There are several people, famous personalities, who have tasted them and have taken back the reminiscence of Old Delhi and the taste of Old Delhi with them. Chandni Chowk is also famous for its fashion. We are here at a lehenga shop that has specifically designed some lehengas for the delegates of G20 who will be visiting the national capital in the next week.
Sir, first of all, it's an honor for us that we are hosting G20, and the whole market is very euphoric about it, and we are expecting a lot of people to come and visit Chandni Chowk. We have a new collection. First of all, I would like to show you this lehenga and choli. So this is very popular in Western markets also. And then we have some Indo-Western with a choli and plazo, and with a shrug, with dhoti, with a dhoti and a top shrug. So these are all Indo-Western. They're very popular among the foreign dignitaries and foreign guests, and all we have keep coming in the market. And we are very happy, and we're looking forward that the markets are all open and lot of guests come to Chandni Chowk, and we'll give them a very good collection. As you can see, this is all a new line which we have specially created, keeping in mind the style and the taste of the Western countries, the kind of clothes they wear. So Indian fashion is all over the world. I think after France is India only. So I'm sure they'll be looking forward.
In Chandni Chowk, we are also joined by members of the Chamber of Trade and Industry that is looking after the entire preparation.
All the country, all the Delhi, all the traders are so excited about G20, and we are eagerly waiting from last 3-4 months to welcome the G20 delegates. And we are educating the traders. Traders are eagerly waiting. Lots of the traders they are not very good in English. That's why they have called their son and grandsons. They are expert in English. They can speak English fluently, because they don't want to get any kind of difficulty to communicate foreign delegates.
It is not only the traders who are excited about hosting the G20 leaders. The entire country is equally excited about hosting the G20 leaders and dignitaries and all the delegates that will be visiting not only this market in Chandni Chowk but also across the national capital. With camera person Manmohan Singh, this is Dibyendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
Let's get you profiles of some of the G20 leaders who are attending the summit in Delhi. "43-year-old Rishi Sunak became the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom on 25th of October 2022. He graduated from Winchester College in England and later studied politics, philosophy, economics at Oxford University. In 2006, Rishi Sunak earned a degree in MBA from Stanford University as a Fulbright scholar. Rishi spent his professional career before politics in business and finance, co-founding many investment firms globally. He was elected the Conservative MP for Richmond. In May 2015, Rishi Sunak served as Parliamentary Under Secretary of State between 2018 and 2019 and was the Chancellor of Exchequer between 2020 and 2022. Let's now take a look back at previous G20 summits.
Initiated by finance ministers in 1999, the group of 20 met at leaders level for the first time in November 2008 in Washington, D.C., at the peak of the global financial crisis. The G20 was created in response to the financial crisis that arose in a number of emerging economies in the 1990s, and this summit focused primarily on strengthening financial regulation. The White House reported that the summit had reached what would be the Washington Declaration. The US summit achieved 5 key objectives in 2008. There was a common understanding of the root causes of the global financial crisis, actions taken by countries and to be taken to address the immediate crisis were reviewed. Common principles were agreed upon for reforming financial markets. An action plan was launched to implement those principles. The countries reaffirmed their commitment to free market principles. With this summit, there was a shift in global governance as a much more legitimate group could now take up relevant issues for over 2/3 of the world's population. Urvashi Kapoor for DD India.
Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. ISRO chairman says countdown for the launch of ADIA L1 will start today. Paris becomes first European city to ban rental e-scooters. Indo-Bangla border to open a new railway line between Agartala in India and Ganga Sagar in Bangladesh. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Well, ISRO chairman S. Somnath has said the space agency was getting ready for tomorrow's launch of the country's ambitious solar mission, ADIA L1, and that the countdown for its launch will start today. The launch of the first space-based Indian observatory to study the sun is scheduled on Saturday at 11:50 a.m. from Sriharikota Space Station in Andhra Pradesh on September. The satellite will be placed in a halo orbit around the Lagrange point of L1 of the Sun-Earth system, which is about 1.5 million kilometers from the Earth. It will take around 4 months to reach the Lagrange point. The advantage of halo orbit around the L1 point is that the satellite can observe the solar activities without any obstruction by other celestial activities like eclipse. The ADIA L1 mission is to study the solar winds and sun's atmosphere. In the latest update on India's successful lunar mission Chandrayaan 3, Indian Space Research Organisation has detected a natural seismic event on the moon. Sharing details on the social media site X, formerly Twitter, the space organisation revealed that the instrument for lunar seismic activity payload on the Chandrayaan 3 lander has recorded the vibrations occurring due to the movements of rover and other payloads. ISRO also stated that Chandrayaan 3 lander has made first ever measurements of the near-surface lunar plasma environment over the South Polar region. Measurements were carried out by Rambha LP payload on board the Chandrayaan 3 lander. In an exclusive conversation with DD India's Moon Bhattacharya, Mexico's ambassador to India, Federico Salas Lotfe, congratulated India for the success of India's lunar mission, Chandrayaan 3, and spoke on the potential space cooperation between ISRO and the Mexican Space Agency. You can watch the full conversation at 8:30 p.m. IST or 3 p.m. GMT on 3rd of September on DD India.
On space cooperation, considering Chandrayaan 3's success in a shoestring budget and the fact that the Mexico Space Agency as well as ISRO have entered into an agreement in the past on cooperation in the space sector for peaceful purposes, Can we expect more tie-ups in space technology between ISRO and the Mexican Space Agency?
Well, the first thing I should say is that I want to congratulate India and all of Indians for this very proud achievement. And it's something that certainly Indians should be proud of what happened, but it's something that all of us around the world are very happy that you guys have brought the moon closer to us. We have been, as you said, our space agencies, the Mexican and the Indian space agencies, have been collaborating on the uses of space for peaceful purposes. We've had a long-standing memorandum of understanding between the two agencies and just recently, in the past year and a half or so, we signed an addendum, for example, to have a satellite observation to help us deal with natural disasters and forest fires. And as we've seen, this is something that is happening with tragic consequences in parts of the world, like in Canada or in Hawaii recently. So it's obviously something very important. We've had these problems in Mexico, you've had these problems in India. So this is something that, of course, that we see the immediate benefits of this cooperation, and we do hope that as we move towards the future, that we'll have closer cooperation with the Indian Space Agency.
Come September 9, and a new chapter will be written on the bilateral ties of India and Bangladesh as the trial run of goods train from Bangladesh to Nischintapur in Tripura on the Indian side is expected to begin. A special report from DD India's Agartala correspondent Kunal Shinde.
The long-cherished dream of the commencement of the railway line or train service from Nischintapur near Agartala to Gangasagar in Bangladesh will soon become a reality as the white-coloured gates on the Indo-Bangla border will open soon, signalling a new railway line between Agartala in India and Gangasagar in Bangladesh. Certainly, this initiative is going to script a brand new chapter in the history of robust ties between India and the neighbouring country, Bangladesh. The grueling trolley trials conducted on the meter gauge track by the officials and workers under IRCON of Indian Railways at the Nischintapur railway station is a testimony to a steadfast approach to overcoming any last-minute glitch. India's Ministry of Development of Northeast region is funding the railway line from Agartala to Nischintapur, whereas India's Ministry of External Affairs is funding for the railway line from Nischintapur to Gangasagar, which is in Bangladesh. This railway line is considered strategic in nature as India emphasizes on further enhancing the ties with Bangladesh. India believes that trade between the two countries will also get a boost with the operationalization of this rail link project. Kunal Shinde's report for DD India from Agartala.
DD India's Agartala correspondent Kunal Shinde spoke to Raman Singla, General Manager IRCON, that is building the railway line connecting Agartala with Bangladesh. He spoke on this rail link project.
The train service from Nischintapur to Gangasagar in Bangladesh is expected to start from 9th of September. We are at the newly laid tracks by the IRCON company. To talk more on this, we have with us the General Manager of IRCON, Mr. Singla.
Thank you for having me here. Today actually we have just had a trolley run on the Indian side, and all the 4 meter gauge tracks have been completed on the Indian side, and the works on the Bangladesh side are also completed. On 26th August, there was a trial run on the Bangladesh side which was conducted by Bangladesh Railways, in which officers from MEA were also present. So if all goes well, we hope that we'll be having a goods train trial run on 9th September. So it's a very long cherished project of people of Tripura, and people have been waiting for long to see this project starting. So while most of the physical works are complete on the Bangladesh side as well, but final finishing is in progress, like the final packing of the track, final tamping of the track, it is in progress, which will be completed in another 3-4 days. So we hope to see goods train coming from Bangladesh in Nischintapur yard. And if all goes well, because Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, she is travelling to India in the second week of September for this G20 Summit. So if all goes well, both the Prime Ministers may like to inaugurate the project. Other things will be decided in the ministry level in Delhi.
While the passenger movement from Agartala to Bangladesh will have to be seen when the railway line commences, but it is sure that this particular railway line between the two countries will definitely boost the trade and commerce activities on this border area. With camera person Subrato Shah, this is Kunal Shinde, DD News, Agartala.
NASA's SpaceX Crew 6 members celebrated their farewell on International Space Station as they began their journey back to Earth. The Crew 6 have spent their 6th month in a mission conducting vital research on space. The returning astronauts have now winded their responsibilities and concluded scientific experiments. After the departure, the space station's population will go down to 7.
All right, Crew 6, amazing job. Steve, Woody, Sultan, Andre, we are all honored to have flown with you guys. This was a fun 6 months, and yeah, we're going to miss you guys, but we're looking forward to seeing you back on Earth. Great job.
United Nations Secretary General has sent Russian Foreign Minister a set of proposals aimed at reviving the Black Sea grain deal. The letter comes ahead of a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Turkish counterpart Tayyip Erdogan next week. Russia quit the deal in July, complaining that its own food and fertilizer exposed faced obstacles.
We presented a set of concrete proposals in a letter I've sent to the Russian Foreign Minister. We presented a set of concrete proposals allowing to create the conditions for the renewal of the Black Sea Initiative. I believe that working seriously, we can have a positive solution for everybody, for the Ukraine, for the Russian Federation, but more important than everything else, for the world in a moment in which so many countries are facing enormous difficulties in relation to guarantee the food security of their populations.
Brazil President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has launched Brazil Without Hunger plan to reduce poverty and food insecurity rates in the country. Presenting the project in Teresina, President said the plan is not only about a food program, but also about improving the quality of life of Brazilians. The pandemic fallout surged food insecurity level, magnifying the social divide of the country.
The problem is not a lack of food or the lack of planting. The problem is that people do not have money to access food. That's why we will only end real hunger when we guarantee that all working people have jobs. The wealth produced in this country is not shared equally. Some people eat 10 times a day and others go 10 days without eating.
Electric scooters are no longer available to rent in Paris after residents voted to ban them from the streets. It's the first time a major European city has adopted electric scooters before then choosing to ban them completely. Stuart Smith has more from the French capital.
Since 2018, parking bays like this one have been dedicated to electric scooters, but you won't find any of those here now. The 3 providers of e-scooters in Paris have packed them up and sent them to other parts of the country, as well as to other parts of Europe. When brought in, they were the new face of city transportation, paid for and unlocked simply via smartphone and non-polluting. But some residents in Paris found them a nuisance and a danger. Last year, 3 riders were killed using them and 459 people injured. That prompted a referendum. Earlier in the year, Parisians were asked if they wanted to keep the scooters. 89% of voters said no, though only 7.5% of those eligible to vote actually expressed an opinion at the ballot box. Nonetheless, the city decided to let the operator licenses expire last month. And so it's back to more traditional forms of transportation in Paris, with operators planning to bring in more e-bikes ahead of the 2024 Olympics. Stuart Smith in Paris, reporting for DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. Time now for sport. India's javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra finished behind Jakub Waldich with a throw of 85.71 meters. Neeraj began with 80.79 meters throw in his first attempt, followed by 2 foul throws. He got an 85.22 throw in the 4th attempt, but his 5th attempt was once again a foul throw. Long jumper Murli Sri Shankar finished 5th. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.